Hello, and welcome to the Ultimate Strategy Podcast, your go-to podcast for everything strategy. Each week, we'll share a new episode covering a wide range of topics designed to help your business grow smarter by making strategy both approachable and actionable. I am Miriam and Strategy Execution Director at Cascade.
And I'm Devina Patel, also a Strategy Execution Director at Cascade. Hi, everybody. We're excited to have you with us today. And this is just the beginning, so stay tuned for weekly episodes. Now, before we dive in, let me thank today's sponsor. Cascade is the #1 strategy execution platform. Cascade helps turns visions into reality by working at the strategic brain of your organization. Thousands of top organizations use Cascade to plan, execute, and ultimately track their strategies in one place, improving efficiency and speeding up decision-making. By successfully executing their strategies, Cascade customers are making a difference, from deploying life-saving vaccines to engineering the fastest Formula One car. If you want to get your team moving forward towards your vision in one central platform, check out Cascade at cascade.app. We'll leave the link in the show notes. Now, let's get started. So, for today's episode, which is definitely a topic that I am super passionate about, we will be speaking about how ChatGPT can help you with your strategy, but we'll also be talking about what some of the limitations are. So I'll kind of kick us off with some elements that ChatGPT can help us with in the planning phase of your strategy. And actually, the tool itself can be an excellent partner across your entire strategy execution journey. Now, when it comes to strategy formulation or creating it, ChatGPT can help to generate some super creative ideas and approaches to achieving some of your strategic goals. It's almost like an intelligent sounding board for bouncing off different ideas that you might have. And it's quite interesting because it's based on so much incredible data and so many kind of data feeds feeding into the tool. It means that you also start to get perspectives that you might not have thought of when you're formulating your strategy. Another great kind of, use of the tool in the planning phase is actually clarifying objectives. Objectives can be often these mythical beings where people can overcomplicate them or actually not really understand what they truly mean. And ChatGPT can help you to clarify what they are and break them down into true actionable steps that make sure that you have that alignment across your broader strategic goals. Another great use of ChatGPT in this phase is prioritization. Sometimes when you look at your list of goals and objectives that your organization needs to meet, it can be really hard to understand what's the right thing to focus on in this moment and what's the right thing to deprioritize. And ChatGPT can always play back different scenarios to you to help you understand what initiatives you should prioritize based on importance and impact. And of course, the great thing with ChatGPT is the more that you input and the more that you feed to it, it will also start to give you better insights and better answers. And then one thing I've also used it for in the past is helping with a SWOT analysis. So identifying specific opportunities or threats. And this comes from a place of industry insights and knowledge all across the internet, but it can also highlight potential opportunities that you might have missed that impact your strategy execution. So there's all kinds of incredible things that it can help you with, but I know Miriam's gonna help to level out my perspective here by telling us a little bit around some of the limitations of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, thanks, Devina. And just like you, I also really like using ChatGPT, and I think it's a great tool, but it also comes with its limitations. And we want to also be transparent, or just think about not only all the advantages, but also where are the limitations. So one of the big limitations is, especially when you're thinking about your strategy planning phase, or very much the beginning of any strategy out there, is when you're thinking about putting new ideas out there, being creative and innovative. So in many ways, ChatGPT can help you, or any AI tool can help you, obviously, to put existing knowledge together in new ways, but it won't be able to ultimately help with the creative, new, groundbreaking idea that comes to people sometimes really when they're thinking outside the box and when they're like really utilizing both like intuition and emotional intelligence. That's where ChatGPT obviously has its limitations. Just think like of many of the great visions of big companies that are out there, be it like Apple or Tesla or anything like that. Something like a ChatGPT or AI can't really come up with that, but humans can. Another limitation is you need humans to come in to really like put things together in a way that is conveying and is more talking to the right audience versus just, for example, listing what you found in ChatGPT. Like, how do you bring that human aspect right in there? And that's really where leadership and this emotional intelligence is so important. How do you motivate your people? How do you resolve those conflicts in a strategic way? And also like, how do you ultimately like really like build those strong relationships, influence others, make the right decisions? All of those skills are human skills that ChatGPT or any AI tool cannot really take the work off of your shoulders, and it also shouldn't. And then lastly, the third element that I think, especially when we're thinking about the planning phase, is so important to think about is a vision and a purpose. I think, again, like ChatGPT can come up with ideas and elements, but at the end of the day, it can't really like think about the outside of the box to come up with a purpose or a vision that cares about people, that cares about like the environment or the long-term societal impacts. It's always likely going to be more short-term focused because it's just putting together existing knowledge. So like crafting a purpose statement or a vision, a mission, that's really something, again, where the human aspect comes in to think long-term, to put other components as well into their thinking of like what's going on with the world, what's going on with politics, like all of these different elements, depending on where you are in the world. And thinking about something that is impactful and people truly care about. Yeah. So overall, again, like, especially when you think about like strategic planning, so many ways how you can use it in this more technical way. But then also once you're coming to this element of thinking more long term or bringing in the leadership element and the human element and how you're conveying your messages, that's where the limitations usually sit. But Devina, I'm curious to hear, what do you think where ChatGPT can help in your strategy execution?
I love all of those thoughts, and I think you'll see this throughout the episode. We need humans as well as incredible tools like AI, and I would say that also resonates during the execution phase. I think, again, one thing that ChatGPT can bring is those quick insights, right? It's able to help you interpret insane amounts of information, complex information, summarize key trends for you, summarize key insights, but you have to use that with a pinch of salt and use that as more of an aid to help you in decision making during execution. Because one thing about execution that I think sometimes is forgotten is that you do need to remain agile. You might need to change direction slightly, or you might need to change how you get to your destination. And something like ChatGPT can help you to understand some of the key themes that you're seeing as opposed to making these decisions for you. You definitely need a human to be deciding kind of what changes we make. But another great example of ChatGPT being super helpful is the scenario analysis. So I spoke about it briefly when we mentioned planning, but actually it's super helpful during execution to start to simulate different what if scenarios. Okay, if we do this and we do that, what's the outcome of that ultimately, potentially? Okay, if we change part B to that, what could that look like for us instead? And this helps to almost articulate and evaluate the impact of various strategic decisions before you change anything, before you adapt them. And the great thing about kind of strategy execution is that you should be reviewing it and you should be being agile. However, you don't want to be doing that based on a lack of information or a lack of the right methodology to digest your data and your insights. one of the key themes that I'm seeing at the moment in some of our partners and customers is there's so much data out there, and it's great, right? We can collect all of this incredible insight, but actually, how useful is it? How much can we derive from said data? And I think something like ChatGPT can start to help to get to the bottom of some of those kind of data mines and incredible repertoires that we have. Then one of the other things that I think it can be super useful for is explaining complex concepts. So this could be to various different partners in your execution journey, but also to your different team members and your individual contributors. Sometimes the notion of strategy can be quite overwhelming and seem like a big, scary beast to some of the individuals within your business. And ChatGPT can really help break that down. Even myself have used that before. Actually, just to, for example, improve some of the language, help me to understand concepts better. And I think that's such a great aid that you can have on your execution journey as well. And if I think about the horizons too of execution, we may be talking in the short term, in the immediate months or a year, but we also could be talking in quite long-term timeframes. So things are changing, the world is changing, concepts are changing, technology is changing. So how do we use ChatGPT to help us keep up with that and make the right decisions during execution? But as there were with planning, there are also some limitations. And Miriam, maybe you could take us through some of the kind of drawbacks, I guess, or some of the considerations for the use of AI in execution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I would also just say to your point earlier, I find I've heard someone say before in many ways, using ChatGPT, sometimes, if you have to like work on something and whether it seems overwhelming or whether you feel like you start on a blank page of paper, ChatGPT can almost help you to like be that starting point and to get something written out or build a structure. But then again, like bringing in that human element. And again, I'm talking about the limitations specifically in the execution phase. ChatGPT can obviously help with like processing data as well, helping you maybe summarize things, or even other AI tools. They help you to process things at speed, faster than a human can really do, which is awesome. So we should use it then obviously also for what it's really good for and where the strength of something like AI ultimately lies, because it's fast, it's speed, it produces something much faster than any human can. But then also take that step back and understand, especially if you're looking into, like you talked a lot about those insights and data that especially in the execution phase you have when you're like starting to work on reports and trying to put things together. Like that's again where the human has to come in to understand, to provide a bigger picture in many ways as well, and to understand how things are truly connected and what truly makes sense in the work environment at the end of the day. But then also to take, let's say for a report or so, there's a lot of like ambiguous data. That's sometimes where I think we also just have to step back and be like, okay, what's the human intuition that can come in here to recognize certain patterns that AI or ChatGPT can't really do to that degree. But a human can see it because they have more context, deeper understanding of the culture and everything that's happening around them. And they will see those little pieces that help to not only set up an insight, but really make that insight very, very tangible and very valuable at the end of the day, so that it can be used for further interpretation and for further action as well. So again, I think the strategy execution phase, that's oftentimes where it starts to, like where you have just a lot happening and there's lots of processes. It can also be helpful with processes. There's lots of data, and ChatGPT can be so helpful. But again, as we said before, the human element needs to be in the driver's seat to use ChatGPT in the smartest way possible.
I like what you
Yeah.
said about human intuition, because I think it's human intelligence and intuition, as you said. I think the biggest maybe businesses in the world started out because of someone's intuition, someone's ideas. A robot, an AI tool wouldn't have been able to come up with that. It's actually only as good as kind of the average, I guess, of the information that it gets. It's never going to give you something above and beyond, right? Which is the great thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I know we have like, when we're thinking about like planning, execution, and tracking as kind of like the three components of a strategic cycle. What do you think where ChatGPT or AI can help, especially when we're thinking about tracking?
This is probably one of my favorite uses for something like a ChatGPT or an AI tool, is helping you to understand what you should be measuring. So when you think about your strategy, it can be quite a difficult task in figuring out what's the right KPIs, right? What is my right indicator of success? And I think that ChatGPT can assist you in helping defining those relevant KPIs or measures, and also suggest the best ways to track them and the right cadence as well. Because sometimes you can see that KPIs start to deter or detract from the true behaviors that you want your organization and your people to exhibit. So ChatGPT can definitely help you to make sure they are super refined. And what I also think when it comes to measures or metrics more broadly is that what you don't know, you don't know. And maybe there's a KPI out there or a measure that could be a much better fit for you. And something like an AI tool can help you to discover that. I also would say that it can help you think differently about measuring success. Often we have quite a limited view, and actually our brain also starts to gear towards quantitative measures more often than not. And I think, again, an AI tool can help you to broaden your horizons in the KPI and metric space, which is great. And the second thing, and I think ultimately what is also super important for all phases of your strategy execution, is the progress reporting. That can help you do a better job when you go into your next planning cycle. It can help you with your ongoing execution, and it can help to generate some incredible summaries and reports of progress and analyze trends in a way that you as a human being might miss, right? Performance data, maybe it's recommendations for adjustments, maybe it's adaptations of the current cycle. So how do you utilize the tool to help you do a better job ultimately as well, and help you iterate? I think the power is always in your control as the humans of this strategy execution journey. However, utilize something like ChatGPT as your right hand. Utilize it to help you do a better job. So metrics and reporting for me are some of the biggest areas that it can support with. But like you will see, we're playing devil's advocate with everything ChatGPT today. There are also some limitations, right? And maybe Miriam, you could take us through, what do you think some of them are when it comes to tracking?
Yeah. And I would actually say for tracking, look, I think that's really, as you said before, probably the area where ChatGPT can come in the most useful way. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, I know usually Devina is the queen of analogies, but today I'm coming up with one as well. I found like ChatGPT is almost like, it's like your car to get you from A to B faster. So it gets you to your goal faster, but you're in the driver's seat and you're driving it. Thank you.
I like that a lot.
So like, I think that's how you have to see it, right? Like you're still deciding what's the direction, how fast do you want to go, where do you want to go? So utilizing or seeing it in that way can really help. Like, again, like I think, again, the tracking is amazing to use it, and then the processes as well, because it gives you potentially new ideas that you might just not have thought about, or maybe they would have come to you maybe at a later point in time. What I would say at that stage, when you're again thinking for your strategy execution, and maybe you're in a leadership role for your team, or maybe you're a strategy execution director or something like that, somebody who helps getting people to truly execute on their strategy. The limitation comes with, even if you have all this great data, all the insights generated, you have all your amazing reports set up, but then how do you actually utilize them every day, right? Like, how do you use them for collaboration? How do you use them
Right.
for decision making? How do you like further advance them almost to like influence certain stakeholders as well and align
Right.
around that shared strategy? So I feel like that's really where the limitation comes in, is around
Mm-hmm.
collaboration and influence. So again, like thinking about that driver's seat analogy, you again, like you're in the driver's seat and you have to understand like where do you want to take it, right? Like where do you want to go maybe together?
Right.
Who else do you take into your car? And
Right.
you know,
On the journey.
who do you take on the journey
Mm-hmm.
to really drive your strategy forward?
Mm-hmm. I really
But
like
yeah,
I like that. And maybe to build on that analogy,
go for
if I could,
it.
I also think it's only as good as what you put in. So I guess to
Mm,
take the car analogy, it's only as good as the quality of gas that you put inside your car. If you
I love
feed
that.
ChatGPT garbage or poor quality gas, then actually the efficiency at what you could get to your next destination, the likelihood of hitting some troubles along the way, I mean, you start to impact it. So I think ChatGPT also, or the delivery of it is dependent on what you give to it as well. Give it poor data and kind of give it crap instruction, and it'll give you something bad back as well. But yeah, I don't know, Miriam. Maybe I just ruined your analogy.
No, you didn't at all. I love it. It's just making it better.
High
Um,
quality gas, high quality gas.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I guess overall, I mean, I'm curious to hear your takeaways as well, Davina. But I
Mm-hmm.
think overall, just like thinking through what everything that we discussed, I feel like we already just almost summarized it a little bit in this little
Mm-hmm.
analogy. But in many ways, again, ChatGPT is so amazing to help, like, not start from a blank page, help you set up a framework or a process or
Right.
some KPIs, and like really help you like think about things holistically, and maybe like you might have missed something before. But then, of course, the human element comes in: emotional intelligence, intuition, human intelligence in general, to just like bring in that leadership element and bring everything together to ultimately like achieve your strategy, like
Okay.
collaborate, bring teams together,
Exactly.
and relate to what the teams truly need, how they talk about it, and all of that. What would you say?
Like that.
What else would stand out to you as a takeaway?
Yeah. I think these are all amazing conclusions, and maybe to add, what I would say is that also don't become over reliant on
Mm,
something like ChatGPT, or even in any case certain tools, right? Tools and kind of technology is there to help you, but you shouldn't be relying on them too heavily to do your job and do your role. There's there's a reason that human beings are hired, right? And they're coming to you for your experience, your skill, your personal contribution. And I think don't become too reliant on something like a chat GPT. Anything in excess is a bad thing. So how do you
exactly.
keep your intelligence ticking and growing
And
and
your
absorbing?
creativity as well,
Exactly.
right? It's like
Exactly.
because it's getting you from A to B faster, but it's
Right.
also limiting the creativity that you could have put out there, or that you could have like maybe achieved with your team and
Right.
collective
Right.
creativity to work
Or
on things.
a pit
So
stop along the way that could have brought
exactly.
you great opportunities, or maybe you shouldn't be going to B. You should be
Or
going to
maybe you
C.
take the scenic route
Yeah,
sometimes and you get the view.
exactly. Exactly. You stop off at a cozy town on the way. Yes.
Exactly. So you would
Yes.
miss out on those things.
Exactly.
I agree. I think that's
Yeah.
also important to understand. Like, when do you use it, and when do you maybe sometimes also just take that step back and
Absolutely.
also challenge your own brain
Yes.
and
That's it.
do the own
Exactly what I
thinking.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think human beings almost shouldn't sit on our laurels too much, rest on our laurels too much with something like ChatGPT or AI. It can also go wrong, right? It can also suggest the wrong things. And it can't predict everything. It can't, COVID, for example, is one I continuously come back to. No tech, no industry,
Right.
nothing could have predicted that, right? Or, world events, things that are happening in the world. There's so many things that technology cannot predict, but human beings can try to get the forefront of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
humans are a superior race for a reason, right? We have these incredible brains, and I think, like you said, we need to use them. We need to make sure that we don't rely too much on technology.
Totally agree.
Great.
Well,
Well, I think that wraps up today's episode on everything ChatGPT. Definitely a topic that we've been looking forward to for a little while. With everything around AI, it's such a buzz topic at the moment. But we hope you found it insightful and it helps you on your journey towards better strategy execution.
yeah, I really love talking to you about this as well. It's such an exciting topic, and I love building on our little analogy. So, yeah, make sure to tune in next week when we'll be talking about another really exciting topic, and it's going to be a great episode filled with lots of practical tips. So, you don't want to miss it.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so that you never miss an episode. And check out the links to some of the resources in the show notes. As a big thank you to our sponsor, Cascade, for making this podcast possible.
Thanks for listening. And remember, great strategies are only as good as their execution.
So take action, make it happen, and see the results. See you on the next episode for your weekly dose of strategy.
Thank you.